The offseason rolls along, and there will be a handful of recognizable names that change places between now and training camp. But for the most part, a lot of the team-building hay is in the barn, with free agency having slowed to a crawl and the 2023 NFL Draft now in the rearview mirror. If it feels like I played things safely here, picking 9 playoff entrants from last season for my ranking of the most complete NFL rosters right now, well, guilty as charged. I just couldn't quite pull the trigger on promoting a sexy, up-and-coming team such as the Lions or Dolphins, although I did strongly consider the sleeper Browns for the final slot. Those 3 might not have escaped the cutting room floor, but the following 5 teams, the ones with the most talent, the best depth, and the fewest remaining question marks, did. Until further notice, I think they're the best of the best, top to bottom. The 49ers' biggest question right now could end up being a relative strength. Quarterback remains a concern of sorts following Brock Purdy's elbow injury, which keeps his timeline to return to action murky. If Purdy can come back and prove that his late-season run was no fluke, the 49ers will be in great shape. Trey Lance's trajectory has changed wildly in the past 9 months or so, but he'll still have a chance to rewrite his path and start if Purdy can't go week 1. There's also Sam Darnold, who has 55 career NFL starts to his name, which is pretty good insurance. There are no gaping holes on the roster, but that's not to say there aren't things to sort out. Right now, Colton McKivitz is the top candidate to replace Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. But that's one of the few major concerns until proven otherwise. The OL depth across the board might be a tad shaky and too dependent on some unknown pieces and projections, but it should be a solid group. The Niners were gashed by the run a few times, notably by the Eagles in the NFC title game. But if big-ticket free agent signing Javon Hargrave lives up to his billing, Arik Armstead bounces back from a tough season, and someone else, Javon Kinlaw, steps up, this should be a good defensive interior. On the outside, reigning Defensive Player of the Year Nick Bosa leads a fierce rush, with Drake Jackson a likely candidate to replace the departed Charles Omenihu. Elsewhere, the 49ers are flush with talent on both sides of the ball. They have a deep well of playmakers on offense in the backfield, out wide and at tight end, and on defense. Injuries always seem to sink their teeth into this team, but San Francisco's run-slash-pass versatility with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, and others make this offense very tough to game plan against. They came up just short in Super Bowl 57, but there's no reason to think the state of the Eagles roster isn't as good as, if not better than, it was a year ago. MVP runner-up Jalen Hurts is back to direct a high-powered offense with great receiving options in A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert, even if the depth behind them at wide receiver and tight end is a bit shaky. The offensive line remains mostly intact thanks to the return of Jason Kelce, and there are multiple quality options for the vacant right guard spot following Isaac Seumalo's departure in free agency. There could be some concern with the run game after the loss of Miles Sanders, but I doubt it. Sanders' diminishing returns down the stretch and Kenneth Gainwell's emergence lead me to believe that Gainwell, Rashad Penny, and DeAndre Swift can match the nearly 2,000 scrimmage yards and 18 TDs the team's top 3 backs totaled last season, especially if the team plans to lighten Hurts' load a bit as a runner. Defensively, the unquestioned strength is up front. And adding Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, the Eagles buttressed the league's best pass rush from 2022, even after losing Javon Hargrave. They can throw waves of rushers at opponents, although the run defense could stand to improve. If there's a roster weakness, it might be in the back half of the defense. Philly's in excellent shape at cornerback but has a few question marks at linebacker, with Nakobe Dean and Nicholas Morrow as the possible starters, and safety, Reed Blankenship and Terrell Edmonds are the leading candidates. Any team with a healthy Patrick Mahomes can overcome roster flaws or shortcomings to make a Super Bowl run, but this Kansas City bunch is not just a one-man show. The team has done an excellent job of replenishing the roster from the bottom up, thanks to some recent quality draft classes and smart free agent additions. There are questions at wide receiver again, but there's hope the group can develop, even after losing Juju Smith-Schuster and Mecole Hardman. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is a solid performer, while Kadarius Toney could be in line for a breakout season after being sprinkled into the offense as a gadget guy last year. Sky Moore showed some flashes down the stretch. Second-rounder Rashee Rice is intriguing, and even Justin Ross is a wild-card possibility. The offense still revolves around Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who had one of his finest seasons last year. The three-headed RB attack of Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a solid group. The Chiefs should be strong in the blocking department, even with new tackles in Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor, as they feature arguably the league's best interior trio in Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith. Defensively, the Chiefs have a superstar in Chris Jones and other quality performers, but it's their depth that stands out as most impressive. They can rotate edge rushers Charles Omenihu, George Karlaftis, 2023 first-rounder Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Mike Dana, and Malik Herring. Inside, Jones still will be asked to play a lot of snaps after the departure of Colin Saunders, but KC still has Derek Nady, gets Tershawn Wharton back from a torn ACL, and could see returns from talented sixth-rounder Keandre Coburn. The Chiefs' top four linebackers, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Drew Tranquill, and Leo Chenal, are very good. The secondary has been bolstered through the draft in recent years, so even losing Juan Thornhill might not be a big concern. L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie are an excellent CB pair, while safety looks solid with Justin Reed and Brian Cook at the top. Kansas City's secondary offers quality depth and versatility via cover men like Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Mike Edwards, and Deion Bush, among others. Cincinnati has as talented a roster as just about any team in the league and must be considered a top contender to win the Super Bowl, assuming good health. But that last part is critical, because there still are some caveats that could derail the Bengals' season. They opted not to add more significant options at tight end and running back, leaving those positions on the thinner side. Samaje Perine left in free agency, and after months of uncertainty, it appears Joe Mixon isn't going anywhere for now. Rookie Chase Brown, Travion Williams, and Chris Evans are the only other real options. At tight end, they'll likely run with Irv Smith Jr. and others after passing up tempting draft options. The offensive line is yet again an area of some concern. Adding Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle helps, but there's a weird situation at right tackle. Is Jonah Williams, who requested a trade, coming back? Can La'el Collins return quickly and effectively from a torn ACL? There also is a lack of depth inside and out. Defensively, the biggest area of concern likely is safety. Starters Jesse Bates and Von Bell, who combined to take more than 98% of the defensive snaps in 2022, left in free agency. Nick Scott and 2022 first-rounder Dax Hill are the expected starters, with 2023 third-rounder Jordan Battle also in the mix. But attempting to surmise what we'll see from this unproven group is pure projection. The Bengals realistically could suffer a major injury in the front seven on defense and be okay. They've built up some quality depth at several spots. The backups behind Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins represent major drop-offs, although the team did go 3-1 when Chase was out with an injury last season. Dallas is pretty loaded on defense and could definitely field a top 5 unit. The Cowboys addressed a need at defensive tackle with first-round pick Motzie Smith. When you factor in the pass-rushing duo of Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, and some good depth outside, the boys boast a deep, talented front. Linebacker and the secondary also are well-stocked. Depending on preseason injuries, there could be some tough cuts in the back seven. The addition of Stephon Gilmore at corner, along with the late-season emergence of linebacker Damone Clark and defensive back Darren Bland, make this unit deep and dangerous. On offense, however, there are at least depth concerns at almost every spot. Dak Prescott is coming off a challenging season, and the Cowboys probably can't afford him missing another 5-game chunk in 2023. Cooper Rush ably replaced Prescott and is back, but is he truly a top-tier backup? That's about all they have at QB. The depth is better at receiver following the trade for Brandon Cooks, who should diversify the offense. But Dallas really could use Michael Gallup, Jalen Tolbert, or someone else stepping up. Running back took a hit with Ezekiel Elliott's release, which looms larger with Tony Pollard coming off a broken leg and high ankle sprain. Perhaps rookie Deuce Vaughn can carve out a role, but it feels like there's a void here. Tight end is in solid shape with the addition of second-rounder Luke Schoonmaker, but the offensive line remains partially unsolved. There might be some shuffling among last year's starters, and the depth appears so right now. Dallas also needs to find a kicker. But all in all, this is one of the best NFL rosters from top to bottom.